Hello everyone, welcome back. So today what we'll be trying to do is recreate this effect that we have in the background of this website. I'll be sharing it in the description down below. I believe this is the homepage for the Q5GS framework. I believe the idea is to get a smaller bundle sized similar to functionalities that are provided from P5GS, which we'll be using P5GS today. But I would really recommend you to go and take a look at the Q5GS demos. They're pretty great, and it really seems similar to P5GS from what I've seen so far. So I'll go on the whiteboard and explain my thought process for this sketch that we'll be doing. So let me pick up a pen. Okay, great. So we basically will have some type of class, right? I'll call it Blob. Let me make sure I'm in frame. Yeah, okay, great. So we'll have some kind of type blob, right? So this is going to be like a blob, for example. So we'll have a given radius, right? So from the center of the blob, we'll have like, let's say a max radius kind of, right? So we'll have radius, some type of number. What else would we want? Maybe a position. So XY value. So we'll use a vector for that. What else could we need? I mean, the velocity and everything, I guess based on what I'm seeing, we could have a random velocity, right? So a velocity also going to be XY. And I'm going to use random vector. And I might want it to go up, right? So a random pointing up vector, right? So between, let's say, random between, so it needs to go up. So the first one, the x, should go between, like, let's say -3 to 3, and we'll have random between 0 and -3, right? Something like that. Hopefully you can see it. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit small, but something like this with a random vector pointing up, right? We'll create the position from like off screen at the bottom, and they're just going to move up. Okay, what else would we need? We could have maybe a color, maybe not. I'm going to put it in here and we can implement it if we want. Okay, that's pretty much it for the variables. What else? So it needs some type of function that updates its position, right? So we'll call that update. Update, which is basically going to update the position. So update the position with the velocity, right? Okay, great. So we're also going to use, so maybe we want to add something in here. I am going to think, but right now let's say that the blob here doesn't change shape. All of its lifetime, it doesn't change shape. It's just staying as the same blob size, same blob, exactly the same as it is whenever it gets created, right? And what we'll do is we'll basically, sorry, give me a second. There we go. So we'll have some kind of show function. And this show function, now, I'm thinking we should do like for a for loop that goes from 0 to 2 pi, right? Right. That goes from 0 to 2 pi and gives us I, let's say. And we can use that value as the angle. And we can also, so that will give us a circle, right? If we were to get like const x, so x from the cosine of I times some radius, right? But the radius, I want it to change, right? It should change based on where we are at. So what I'm thinking is we use noise. So because random is just going to give us random values, it could be really separated from one another. Noise, it's going to be more closer together values. It's going to be randomized, but it's going to be closer together than this, right? So that's the goal of using the noise value. Let me just erase this. Okay, great. So to figure out the radius, I'm going to base myself off a noise value, which gives us a number between 0 and 1. But generally, it's closer to 0.5 than to 1 or to 0, but never mind that. So a noise value based on two sets of values, right? If I don't pass two sets of values, we might end up, let's say that we started here drawing, gives us 1 if we were to pass only one value, so that's fine, but it might end up like here, right? It might break at some point. So the goal is to pass two values, and the first two values are going to be the same as the last two value in the loop. So we could pass some x and y, we could do some computation on I for those two, right? We could, for example, use cos of I and sine of, sorry, it smells like the produce I used to clean it. Okay, great. So we could do that, and we could time this to the radius. Right, so that's one possibility. But we might want to take a look at different values for these, because I believe all of the blobs that we will create using this is going to be looking the same, right? So my thoughts is maybe we could have some third value we pass to the noise, right? And that third value could be set in here, right? So we could have some offset, just so that they don't look all the same. So we could pass offset in here, right? That's what I'm thinking. So, and then to get the actual x and y, we would just do cos of I times r and sin of I times r as well, right? And then we would just do, like, let's say a vertex at that x, y value, right? Plus the position dot x plus the position dot y. So let's try that and see what we get. And we'll also like add the colors or the shading, whatever we want to add to the blob itself in here in terms of coloring, or opacity, right? So let's start with this. Over here. There. Awesome. So let me start this. Okay, great. Let me go into index.html. Okay, great. So we have what we want. Now let me use the draw function to draw a background, darkish background, right? So what's the issue here now? Background. There we go. Let me just see. Okay, well, we can use the inverse, right? So our background is going to be dark, and then we'll use a light color blob shape, blob fill color, right? So anyway, it doesn't matter. The colors we can take a look at afterwards. So now I'm thinking we would have an array blobs, right? So we would have an array of blobs, and let's create our function, our class, sorry, for the blob, right? So new file, call it blob.js. So it'll be a class. Let me close this as well. Class blob. And I want to use a function class today, so it doesn't matter. I mean, it does change something, but I'm fine with it. So, okay, so let's start with this. So we'll have this.pause equal pause, right? We'll be passing in the position here. What else do we want to pass it? Well, that's pretty much fine. Well, I guess we could pass the velocity as well. We'll create it at this other place wherever we create the blobs. This.vel equals a vel. Okay, what else we said? A radius, right? A max radius. So radius, this.radius equals radius. Okay, great. What else did we say? We wanted some color. I'm just going to hardcode the color right now. I'm going to say this.col just because, well, I could use color because actually this is just a this dot, so color. Let me find a color on colors website. A great website. I really suggest it to you. It is amazing for figuring out what color you want. Okay, these look amazing. So let me pick any one of them. Let me pick this light blue color. So here, and we'll do $sign at the beginning. Okay, great. Okay, I think we have pretty much what we wanted in here. The offset, we'll add it later on. Right now, I just want to create one blob, for example. Okay, so we'll have blob.prototype.update, which will be equal to a new function. Okay, great. So this function should update the position with the velocity, right? So this.pause.add this.vel, right? Should be it. We might want to update this update function later on, but let's start with this at least. Okay, and then we'll have blob dot prototype, sorry, dot show equals a function. Great. And now we need to figure out what we want to do with our stuff, right? So we said a for loop that goes from 0, well, not 9, 0, up to 2 pi. I'm going to do 2 pi plus like some really small number, just because the floating point numbers, you know how it goes. Or you might not, but I would suggest to you to figure it out by yourself. But I might link a Wikipedia page. Might not, I might forget. But I would suggest looking up floating point number, changing decimal value or something on Google. You'll for sure figure it out. So I plus equal, I don't know, some really small amount. 0.01 or 0.001, that's fine. That's sure. Okay. So now let's get let x equals the cos of I. Let y equal the sin of I. Let, or const, I guess, const r for the radius, just because, well, I guess we could call it radius. There is no arm in this, since the other one's called this dot radius. I mean, we cannot access it by just calling it radius, so there was no conflict there. So we'll get this radius using the noise value, the noise function, passing it x and y. And I might want to divide those values by some amount, right? I don't know. We could have some offset. We could have like let first offset equals to 0, or I don't know, some random 0 is fine, sure. And let second offset be equal to, like, I don't know, this value, sure. And then we can just update those two offsets every time we pass in the loop. There you go. We can like add like 0.01 and add maybe 0.03, right? I don't know. We'll see if that's good enough. So first offset, second offset. There we go. So now we can use, we can do x times equal radius, or we could just create x and y afterwards. I know I said I would use x, cost of I, and sin of I here, but I mean, it's really just getting some close enough together numbers so that it's smooth enough. But anyway, we'll see what we do. We'll see if this gives us a nice result or not, right? Radius. Okay, great. Let me also make this over here. Okay, great. And what I will do is we'll do vertex at xy, but we'll be adding to xy x plus equal this dot pos dot x, y plus equal this dot pos dot y. There we go. So vertex, so we'll need begin shape, end shape in here. Begin shape, end shape, and we'll say closed, 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 closed. I don't know, we'll see. Okay, right now there's no errors. I mean, we're not even loading it into, let me just close all of this. Okay, great. Let me get back to this. Okay, sketch, we'll go back to this, we'll do blob. Okay, great. And we'll make sure blob, everything seems good. Okay, we'll get into sketch, and we already have an array of blobs. So we'll do blobs index 0. We'll just do one of them to begin with, see what we get, what errors we have. So we'll have a new blob, and we'll need a position, right? So const pos equal, right now we're going to create a vector that is going to be at the center of the screen, just for right now. Eventually it'll be off screen, and we won't be setting any velocity for the moment, just because I don't want it to move while we're debugging it, still figuring it out. So width divided by 2, and height divided by 2 as well. And we'll have const velocity equal create vector, and it's going to be this. Just this is the same as doing 0, 0. I can do 0, 0 to be more explicit for you. What else did we need? Radius, right? So radius, I'm just going to say maybe 300 or 200. Sure. Const radius equals 200. There. So here I need to pass position, velocity, and radius. Okay. So now what I want to do is show and update this blob. Well, update, it doesn't matter really. Update and show. Okay, so seems like we do have an issue somewhere. So let me take a look at the show again, right? Oh, not here. Oh, blob. Is blob a reserved keyword? I don't think so. I think we're fine with this. Let me see if we get to here, right? So console.log here. We're getting in here. Well, that's good. So vertex, xy, that should be fine. Oh, you know what? Noise times this dot radius. Yes. Okay, great. And I might want to map it instead of doing this. I don't think it would make a big difference, but let's see. Map the noise value, which goes between 0 and 1, to maybe, let's say this dot radius divided by 2 and this dot radius. Sure. And what I want to do is maybe up this a little bit, right? So it's a little bit more smooth. Okay, there we're already somewhere closer to what we wanted. Though right now, this is not doing what we want because it's not getting back to the original number, right? Let me think here. What if I were to pass x and y into this? X, comma, y. Maybe I want to do the 10 tangent. I guess it's maybe I want the sin of y. Yeah, no. So this is pretty. These are blobs, but are not what I wanted. So we could use maybe. Let me think. I want basically first offset and second offset to get back if I were to use them, like here. I want them to get back because right now here you see there is a big gap. Every time I refresh the page, see, this is where the gap is. Well, I believe so. Yes. Maybe. Yes. Yes. So here is always at the whenever the angle is 0, this is where the issue is. So what should we do to get a random? We could randomly walk. Let me think. Let me pause right here, and I'll come back with a with an idea on how to get the blob. Well, what to pass to the noise function. All right. So I've come up with something. Here, right? We are basically just adding some type of offset to the x and the y, so it doesn't, that it's not the same going across, right? Because it would be like if we were to take only x and y, it would be, let's say, always going between like 1 and like on the angle 0, it would be, let's say, x would be, let's say, 1, and on the angle pi, it would be -1, right? So it was symmetrically reversing the value, but now I just moved it elsewhere completely, randomly moved it elsewhere, and it gives us a more asymmetric result. And here I'm thinking we could use, first, let me use tau instead of 2 pi, which is the same value. And let me also, and this we will eventually not put it in draw, essentially in show, since show is going to get called every time in draw, and I don't want the shape to really change that much. Instead, what we'll be using is we'll be updating, we'll be moving this into the constructor function here. We'll call it maybe this dot offset equals random between let's say 30 and 1000. That should be fine. Okay, and we'll use this dot offset into here. There we go. And I also don't want to do this. What I will do is we'll basically divide this value by how many kind of resolution that we want. So let's say divided by 30 or divide by 10, right? This is a bit clunky. So maybe 30 was fine, maybe even 50, right? There we go. So we should not see any seams now, I believe. We don't. So that's good. So that's pretty much what I want, this whole thing. Let me put this back into here. Let me put this back into here. Let me move this. There we go. Into here. Okay, great. So we have our blob, right? Now let me add the fill color, fill with this dot color. Should give us the bluish. Can we put an alpha onto this? Yeah, I didn't thought so, right? So let me pick up a color. Let me pick this palette of color, export palette, and we'll just get it as RGB values. Is there a way to easily export it as RGB? Not really. Let me take a look at embedded. No, not really. Is there a way, is there a P5 function to convert from color, to convert the color from the X to RGB? What does this give us? No, I don't think that's what I wanted. Okay. Well, I could technically split. Sure, I could technically split it and pass it to the on X, right? There we go, on X. FF 255, yeah, okay, so let me split it every 2, right? Can I do string dot splice or, yeah, slice. Expected output. The slice method of string value extract a section of a string, return it as a new string without modifying the original, and index start, index end. Index end of the first character to exclude from the returned substring. Okay, so let's say 19 is not included, right? I believe. So let's do this. So we'll call this, let's say, colors, or colors. Yeah, colors fine. So what we'll do is, it doesn't matter. We'll have like const x color. Okay, remove this, and then we'll just do an object which contains our G and B, right? R is going to be xcolor dot splice. No, slice. Yep, there you go. Slice, which from 0 to 2. And then we'll do pretty much the same thing, and we'll use unxed on this. Well, never mind. Okay, from 2, including 2, up to 4, excluding 4. Let's do the same thing for B. There we go. Which goes from 4, including, 6, excluding, and we'll use unxed on all of those. Hopefully this should give us the result I'm expecting. Let me just move those onto different lines so it's so that we can see everything in here. Okay, great. Let me add the comma here just because I'm going to edit them all at once. Parentheses open on X. All right, let me see here. So we have this dot color, and we have this dot color dot R, G, and B. Okay, I think it works. Let me put like 200. Okay, does seem to work. So let me do like 100. Sure, that's good. And let me do no fill, no stroke. I know in the example I showed at the beginning there was a stroke. I think we'll see what looks better. It doesn't matter. I've also changed the vertex to use curved vertex. Let me search it up here. Curved vertex. So it's basically making curve instead of just drawing them, right? Here you can see it. So it's good. Let me get back here. Okay, so we've got our function here. What I want to do is maybe offset is fine, and we can call this like position offset, or sure. And we can have also another offset for passing it so that move through time, right? So that the blob updates its blobby feeling like visual through time. And we could call it offset time equals 0, and then what we could do, or yeah, I guess, and this dot offset time plus equals 0.001, right? So it changes slowly, and then we can add this to the noise function here, right? So over time it'll change shape, right? This may be going a bit slow. Let me make it go a little bit faster. There we go. So you see now the blob shapes updating, right, as times move on. So we're pretty much good to go. I'm going to put it back to a little bit slower, maybe half slower. Yeah, I think this looks good. So now what we'll do is we'll just go back to Sketch. We'll create a lot more of them. So we'll do like, we'll do const. Let me put this in the config, just because config is, I'm using it for something else afterwards. But don't really worry about it. You can just have it in a constant. But we'll have amount be, let's say, 100, and we'll also say we'll have a function to remove it. Yeah, sure. Okay. So we'll have a for loop that goes from 0 to our amount as long as I is less than this config dot amount I plus plus. Okay, great. Here, there we go. We'll first create a radius, so random value between, let's say, 150 and 250. Okay, sure. And then what we'll do is we'll say position should be a random. For the height, it should be height plus the radius, and for the width it should be a random value between 0 and the width. And then the vector here, it should be random between, we said for the y it should go up, so random between 0 and -3, for example. -3 might be not enough or too much, right? Too fast. We'll see. Think it's fine. And then for the y, for the x, random between, let's say, 0 and 2. Well, -2 and 2. Right? So let's see here, right? So it's moving across the screen. Sometimes it's just not enough, right? And I'll do like -1 to 3, to -3, just because I always want it to go up. Might be going really slowly or maybe a little bit faster. And I might want to update this function so that it's a little bit more pronounced, the curve of the blob, or maybe a little bit more pronounced. And if I were to go to 0 completely, what does this give us? Well, okay, I mean, sure, it's just too much for me, right? So we'll have this dot radius divided by 4 maybe, right? Maybe divide by 2 was fine, or by 3 is fine as well, right? I don't really want it to be stretching too much inward or outwards. I want it to be close enough to a circle, actually. And maybe we do times 0.8 on this one. Or times 1 over, well, times 1, well, times nothing, basically. Let's see. Okay, and maybe 50 is way too much. There's too much sections, right? Looks good. Maybe that's not enough. Let me make this so that it doesn't go too far to the right or to the left. There we go. It seems like the latest vertex is not going onto the last one, possibly because I need still to do this. Let's see. There's still some kind of peak on the right. If you really look into this section over here, right, you see the peak a little bit. Let me do 0.001 just to see. Peak is still there. So this is doing one more circle, one more loop, I believe, than I want. Let me add back the times 0.5. Was looking a little bit more smooth, I guess. There we go. Well, let's see. We'll leave it at that. You can always try to make it better yourself. I'm not really the best, it seems. Well, for sure, I'm not the best, but hopefully you can make something a little bit better than what I did right now. Make it look more smooth, or smoother, I should say. Okay, and then here it should be I, and then we'll just do a loop. So 4, and we'll do it reversely because I want to remove the ones that are outside of the canvas, basically, apart from the ones that are under with the height, right? The y being greater than the height, I don't really care. So this will be config.amount minus 1, I is greater or equal to 0, I minus minus, open close curly brace, and here it should be, here it should be 1, not 1, I, there we go. So they all come up at the same time right now. Possibly you could just create them as time goes on, right? So you could say something like if, just so that they're not all the way, always at the same time, if maybe blobs dot length is less than config dot length, just config dot amount, then create a new blob. So you could say that I think should be fine. Let me remove this and put it over here. What's the issue? Can a read property of undefined reading update? Yeah, sure. Instead of this, let's use the blob.length, blobs.length. There we go. And here it's not blob, it's blobs. There we go. What's happening? I is not defined. Reference error, I is not defined. Where is that? Oh, over here, right? So we might want to just push into the array. There we go. Seems like they're all coming up at the same time right now. What I want to do is also do something like if frame count, the amount of frame that has passed now, modulus maybe every 30 frame. And this equals 0, right? So now 1 will be created every second if the frame rate is 30 right now, right? This looks good, I think. It looks similar to what we have here. I think theirs look a lot better than ours, but it doesn't matter. I'm fine with it. Let's add back the stroke. I think it might look good with the stroke in the end. Stroke 0 black, and let's do, or we could do, yeah, sure. And we could do stroke weight of maybe like 5 or something. Okay, let's see it. Maybe 5 is a bit too much, and maybe I want to use the same as the background here. There we go. Let's see. Sure, I think this looks good. Right now, I want to remove the ones that are outside of the canvas. So we're pretty much done with the sketch, actually. Let me get to here, and let me do, so in here, we'll do if the blobs index I dot position, and I can just put this in a variable temporarily, const pos equals this. So we can say if pos.x is smaller than 0, and we can say const radius equals blob.radius, because I'll be using that. So we'll say basically if x minus, or yeah, sure, or smaller than the radius, or that pos.x is greater than the width plus the radius, or if pos.y is smaller than minus the radius, right? And in this case, we want to do blobs.splice at index I. We want to remove only 1. Okay, let's try it out. Let's see. So it should always come up. from the bottom, right? One a second, basically, right? And we should see some of them being removed. Well, we won't see visually them being removed, but hopefully this goes on and on and on, and 100 at the same time is enough. I think we're pretty much done with the actual sketch. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments below if you liked it, and what would you do on this. Maybe let's just add, so we've copied, let's copy embedded here. Let's copy this. Okay, there we go. So these are all kind of pastels colors, pretty light colored. And let me do like const colors equals this. And what we can do is just pass the color to the blobs whenever we create them. So here, random, select one random value in the array of colors, and let's go back into blob. Well, let's just go here. So here we'll have color, and we can just say remove X color and change all of here X color to color, right? Let me see, there's probably an error. Since color is a keyword, let's use C, not, wait, was it working? Let me see. Oh yeah, it's working, never mind. Okay, great. So now we have different colors. Maybe you want the blobs to change a lot faster than this, right? So one thing I want to do is maybe use this whole thing and call curved vertex at the end, but for I equals 0. Yeah, like this, right? So am I using I anywhere else? I don't think so, right? So let me see if this fixes the point. I think it does. Yeah. We're not seeing the pointy part any, well, it seems kind of still there, but I'm fine with it. Right? Is this fixing it? Well, still kind of there. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the sketch. You make something more creative with it. And let me know your thoughts on this specific sketch in the comments down below. If there's anything you would have done differently. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.